number one on my list right now, and a lot of you have read this one with me already, is No More Teaching a Letter a Week. Now, we did this book study over in the Preschool Teachers Are Superheroes Facebook group. It was a free book study that we did back in January, and it is still available if you want to watch the chapter overviews and join in the discussion over in the free Facebook group. You can totally do that. You can join the group. Tom will drop a link for you. It's a free group. And if you answer the questions, we just have to make sure you're not a spammer to keep the group safe for everybody. And then when you get there on desktop, go to units on the left side of the screen. And there you can see the letter of the week units and watch the video recaps of each section. Now, when I say the word book, I use that term very loosely. It's only 70 pages. So if you don't have a long attention span, or if you don't want a really chunky book, then this might be the one for you, and if you're interested in the topic. This book, this concept, not the book itself, but the concept of this book, moving away from teaching a letter of the week, will also be a course that is coming out sometime in the fall that I am putting together. So this is a great book. So what is it about? I probably should tell you why it's my favorite. Well, it is research-based information about why teaching a letter a week is not or no longer a best teaching practice. So all these fabulous people, Rebecca McKay and William Teal, they have gotten together and they have written this book for us, and they've pulled together all the research that supports no teaching a letter a week. And this is not just junk science. This is all factual information and based on the biggest studies, not just 20 people, off somewhere. This is like real stuff. And it's published by Heinemann, who is a very well-known educational publisher that we trust in the education field in general. So, and it's edited by Ellen Keene and Nell Duke. So, yeah, this is a really great book. It's a quick and easy read. I think I read it in like 2 hours, maybe. For some of you, it will be affirmation, because I know a lot of you have moved away from Letter of the Week already. But for those of you who this is a new idea, this will be a great resource to get you started. Okay, so No More Teaching a Letter a Week by McKay and Teal. And if you haven't taken that free book discussion, you can do that over in the Facebook group. Another one, somebody asked me recently for a book that wasn't so researchy based, that was easier to understand, but yet was really packed full of good information for teachers. And this is my go-to when I get asked that question, is the Read Aloud Handbook by Jim Trelease. So this book is very well written, but it's an easy read. It is a little thicker than the first one we just talked about, but it is a wealth of information for teachers and parents and anyone who has any contact with young children. This was a million copy bestseller. It's been translated into, I forget how many languages, but many, 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 in the double digits or maybe even triple digits. So yeah, this book is great. This is the most recent version, and it's also the last version. So I was really fortunate that Jim worked a little bit with us on Pre-K Pages. We did this book study over there several years ago when the book was first published. When was that? I want to look, I saved it. I saved it in the book. How cute. Jim Trelease asked that I send you a copy. This is from Penguin Publishing. Oh, that's so cool. All right. I didn't realize I'd put that in there. I better save this book. It's the 7th edition, and it is published 2013. So this is the most recent and the final version of the Read Aloud Handbook. Jim has since retired, but great information, good reading for all. And this is a great read for new parents. Like if you're going to do a baby shower gift, I would get like the Read Aloud Handbook along with some board books. I've done that many times. This is just a really good read. It's full of lots of anecdotal stories, and Jim has a real funny wit about the way he writes, and you will really enjoy this. So thank you, Debbie. Another book. Now, we did this one in the Teaching Tribe already. So if you're a member of the tribe and you haven't done the book study yet, this book study, those are all located in our community. So Purposeful Play, we did this one last year, by Mraz, Porcelli, and Tyler. And so this, also by Heinemann, a very trusted source in educational publishing. I don't work for them. I just have a lot of respect for them and their work. This is going to reshape, it kind of puts together the whole, it kind of aligns Common Core and play, because a lot of us, it talks a lot about the academic pressures that teachers are feeling these days in the classrooms to prepare the kids for the next grade level or whatever is coming. And they really talk about how, we don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. A lot of what we've already been doing aligns with the Common Core. And they don't really talk a lot about the Common Core, but this is what they're referring to throughout the book. But then also other ways that you can meet these new standards in fun and playful ways. So if you're in that kind of a situation where you're under the academic demands, more and more academic demands are coming down on you, this is a great way to frame it. And it's not outside the box stuff. Like, they're not advocating you just throw away your teacher's manual and run around in the mud like pigs all day. They actually have, these are playful ways that you can actually meet these standards. So I thought it was lots of really good practical information. And then in the book study over in the Teaching Tribe, I walk you through each chapter. I kind of serve as like a translator, interpreting some of the things that they kind of say, that are you have to read in between the lines, and educational jargon and things like that, and kind of walk teachers through each chapter of the book study, and then give them guiding questions to answer so that then they can get these certificates of participation. Yeah, do you like the tabs in my book? Yes. I have a little Post-it addiction there, Doreen. I love those little tiny Post-its. And so my mentor got me started on Post-its. And they're like the little tab Post-its. And then I quickly realized that, I just go a little crazy with them. I'm one of those kinds of people too, who when I underline like everything. So yeah, this whole, like this book, Purposeful Play, is I just underline everything, and I'm just crazy like that. Okay. Janelle says, I love the Read Aloud Handbook. Yes, isn't it a fantastic book? It's one of my all-time faves. I would consider it a beach read. It is a very light and easy read, and very digestible information. Janelle says, Janelle's my friend in Punxsutawney. I'm reading Nurturing the Spirit of the Child. It's a Montessori book. I stopped teaching the letter of the week when I found out about Montessori 10 years ago. Yay, good for you. Stacy said she did that book study with us. Yay. Stacy, yes. So if you do a book study in the Teaching Tribe, you can get a certificate of participation when you're finished and you follow the steps for every chapter of the book. So we have to prove that you read the chapters by participating in the discussion. When you've done all that, you can email us and Tom will get you your certificate of participation. Okay. All right. So the next one. Okay, this is a must read, but then also a caveat. Okay, so The Most Important Year. It's a brand new book by Suzanne Bouffard. I think that's how you say her name. Pre-Kindergarten and the Future of Our Children. I love this book, okay? But I don't think it's a good book discussion book. The reason being is that when you have a book discussion, a professional book discussion, right, about professional development, you want to have something that the readers can take and grow with, right? You need to have a takeaway. And all the other books like Purposeful Play and the Read Aloud Handbook and No More Teaching a Letter of the Week, they all do that. This book mostly focuses on the problem and not the solution. Now, they do have some solutions, but they're not things we as teachers can do in our classroom. So for that reason, I don't think it's a good book study book. I think it is a great read. It's easy to read. It's easily digestible. But the people who really need to read and study it are politicians, because that is really what it's written for. It is written for people who don't understand what pre-kindergarten is. They don't know how it works. They don't know why it's important. That's who this book is written for. So when I read it, they were just preaching to the choir, and I was like, oh, you think that's bad? Let me tell you a story. Of course, I was reading a book, so that didn't work so well. But it was a lot of preaching to the choir. So if you already teach public pre-K, then reading this book is just going to either A, make you feel better about your situation, because there's some people out there who have it worse, and B, nod your head along the whole time and go, yeah, that's a big problem. This is an issue. The author's main purpose, my takeaway from this book, the author's main purpose is to raise awareness about the need for pre-kindergarten and a standardized pre-kindergarten throughout the US. Because right now what we have is just a big old giant messy patchwork. But this is a great read for politicians and a great read to give to somebody who wants to know, why would we want pre-K? And of course, when they talk about pre-K, and this isn't a political thing, but seriously, when they talk about pre-K for the public pre-kindergarten, it's never framed in the mandatory way. It's always optional. So those people who still want to send their kids to private preschools and do Tuesday, Thursday, or a Monday, Wednesday, or whatever, that's still going to be an option. So it's just like people don't have to send their kids to public school. They can choose to go to private school in whatever grade. Same thing. Public pre-K is not, I can't see a time in my lifetime where it would ever be mandatory. New Hampshire was the last state to make kindergarten mandatory, and that was like in 1999. So maybe 97, but still, I mean, that wasn't that long ago, people. So I can't see pre-K ever being mandatory in my lifetime. But interesting book, but it's going to be like beating a dead horse for those of you who already teach pre-K in the public school system or in Head Start, because it talks a lot about Head Start too. But great book for politicians. So if you have a politician or a person who needs to know, needs to have their awareness raised, then this is the book to give them as a gift. Well written, easy to read, well thought out, well laid out, but not a book study book for preschool teachers. Okay. I know you enjoyed that book, Jen. I enjoyed it too. I just don't think it's a good book discussion book. You know, you and I can always chat about it over in the community. I think it's great, but I just don't think that my intents and purposes, I don't know what the readers would take away from it. And also it's a little too political, or just too close to politics to be a good book discussion book that's global. You know what I mean? It's too US focused too. And we have a international group in the Teaching Tribe. So I decided not to do that as our book study book in the Teaching Tribe this summer, because I originally said I would. And then I have another book, but it was just released 3 days ago and it's not available to purchase yet. So I don't want to tell you the title because I don't want to like freak everyone out because they can't get it, but it's going to be a really good one. I am reading, this is my book, My Dog Ate. If you're a member of the Teaching Tribe, you probably already are familiar with this book. I am reading by Kathy Collins and Matt Glover. We read this as a book discussion over in the Teaching Tribe. And if you're a member, you can find that discussion over in the community. Just scroll down until you see I am reading, and then you can jump in, watch the chapter overviews, and answer the questions at your own pace. I like the length of this book. It's not very thick. Again, another Heinemann book, so that tells you I hold them in high regard. I love both of these authors. I feel like their writing is very, I don't feel it's too research heavy. I think it's easy to understand. They make their case very clearly. I really like it. It's not too thick. Let me see how many pages. You can always click on one of the links below that Tom has posted. Without including the appendix, it is 165 pages. And a lot of that's like tables and charts and stuff that take up a lot of space. So I think you could really pare it down. And then there's pictures in some pages. So yeah, this is a great book. The premise of this book, let me read the back cover to you. Kathy Collins and Matt Glover see real reading, purposeful meaning making, and opportunities for growth and language development. In this book, they show how to nurture, nudge, and instruct readers, whether or not they are at the point of decoding words. I paraphrase that. They share observation guides for children reading any kind of book, sample reading conferences and whole class mini lessons, suggestions for creating reading opportunities in preschool, action plans to get you going, and online video clips. That was one of the things I really like. A lot of Heinemann's books include these video clips that kind of let you watch on the sidelines. I really like that. So yeah, I think this is a fabulous book. Somebody asked best book for 3-year-old teachers. I'm probably going to say Literacy Beginnings, a pre-kindergarten handbook, because there is a specific portion in this book just for 3-year-old teachers. But FYI, this is a textbook. It is heavy. It is thick. It comes with tabbed dividers, if that tells you anything. This is a textbook, but I will say, again, another book from Heinemann. It's written by Gay Sue Pinnell and Irene C. Fountas. They are two of the preeminent early literacy gurus here in the U.S. They studied under Mari Clay. They are, in my eyes, the preeminent early literacy experts. It's not junk science. All of their stuff is also, they have actionable steps in here because they have lessons and step-by-step instructions for some of these lessons, and they have book lists, all by authors and by genres. Really, it's very comprehensive. I think that's what makes it so thick. But they also address the difference in 3- and 4-year-olds in here. Really good book for any early childhood program that has 3- and 4-year-olds enrolled. Now, they do focus just on literacy, but a lot of the strategies that they employ, the frameworks that they use, those can also be transferred over to math, and you just have to substitute the skill set, right? So Literacy Beginnings, a pre-kindergarten handbook published by Heinemann, written by Gay Sue Pinnell and Irene C. Fountas. We did a book study on this book when it was first released over on Pre-K Pages. And there's links to that. If you search Literacy Beginnings at Pre-K Pages, this will pop up. And there were several of us bloggers who took turns covering the chapters, because if I were to do a book study on this book by myself, it would take a year. It's like a course, really. It's huge. But I think the information they share is very actionable and really based in best practices in early childhood education. The only thing that I would say about it is that they needed a more diverse group of children in their research. They needed more second language learners and more children from at-risk homes. I remember that was my main problem with it when I read it, was some of that stuff wasn't addressed. But other than that, I thought it's definitely the go-to. Those are some. Now I also have, Tom has probably dropped a link. We've learned that I can't see when he posts links when I'm using this platform. But there's also a blog post with all of these books in it. If you want to read like a brief synopsis of each of the books right there at Pre-K Pages, you can do that, and there's links to the books as well. Another one that I didn't grab off my shelf tonight is Already Ready by Katie Woodray and Matt Glover. And that really, that's written specifically for preschool. And it really helps reframe the way we think about writing in the classroom and what writing is, especially at the early childhood level. I think that's a very important read. Conscious Discipline by Dr. Becky Bailey, of course. And there's a link to that. We have the Read Aloud Handbook. Teaching in the Digital Age, we did a book study on that several years ago, but because technology changes so much, just take that with a grain of salt that maybe some of the things in the book have changed, because every 1 year in regular years is like, what, 10 years in technology years? So just go into that one knowing that. And that one was also, that also took place online, like at Pre-K Pages and other sites. So you can go there. And I did another video like this last year, but I updated this. This one has some more recent books. So those are the things I am reading. Let me know if there's anything. Yes, there is a list, Olympia. There is a list at the link at Pre-K Pages that Tom will drop for you in the comments here. So you can see all of these. I also put them all on my Amazon list for you. And well, not all of them. I just put 5, I think 5 or 6. Oh, the ones that I showed on screen, I put those on there as well. Hey, Olabisi, Olympia, how do you join the teaching tribe? Tom will drop a link for you. So you can get on the waiting list and be notified the next time a spot opens up in the teaching tribe. Yeah, Janelle, The Most Important Year. Yes, that was written by Suzanne Buffard. It is a very interesting read. I find it very interesting. I just don't think it makes a good book study book. Janice, I think I answered your question. A 3s teacher is probably going to get the most. Well, there's a lot of these books would be great for a 3s teacher, but I'm going to recommend Literacy Beginnings because it is the preeminent, it's a textbook. But you could also read I Am Reading. That's a really good one. The Read Aloud Handbook and No More Teaching a Letter a Week. These are all good books for 3-year-old teachers. Olympia, we should send that book to all of our politicians. Yes, The Most Important Year. I think that's true. We all need to send one. If only they would read it. It's that whole lead a horse to water thing, right? Hey, Jeannie. All right. Okay. Ray Pika is another great author. That's right, Debbie. Yes. The Whole Brain Child. I haven't heard of that one. Ooh, Jen has a book. She says, I'm reading The Great Disconnect in Early Childhood Education, What We Know Versus What We Do by Michael Granling. Ooh, putting that one on my list. Awesome. Thank you. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I hope that you got some summer reading ideas. I know that a lot of folks have been asking over in the Facebook group, what are people reading in the summer for professional book studies or professional development books that they're reading? And so I thought I would share this list with you. If this concept is new to you, know that it's a concept that's been around for a long time. I know my school district, we love the last day of school as teachers, of course, but we also dreaded it because they would pass out our summer book study book on the last day. And of course, it was a book that everyone pre-K through 12th grade had to read. So often it was not applicable to pre-K at all. So I always dreaded that. I was always reading it the night before the first day, before the first day we went back on contract. I'm like, I got to finish this book. So yeah, so a lot of public schools, they do professional book study over the summer. You get the book on the last day of school when you turn in your keys. And then when you come back on teacher contract, then you have to discuss the book with your grade level or in a whole group or whatever it is. But it's very rarely focused on your grade level specifically. And so that's what I hope to do with this video, with the blog post at Pre-K Pages, and with the book studies and the teaching tribe, is make it very specific to early childhood and make it relatable for you so that you can get the most out of your summer and your time spent. So that's my goal always with my professional development. And sometimes, learning something new is not a bad thing. As teachers, we are lifelong learners. That's a trait of a good teacher. And some of us have more time in the summers. Now others might have more time at different times of the year. on an airplane if you're going to take a long weekend, or I always like to read those kind of books on an airplane because I figure, what else am I going to do, right? I'm not going to pay for Wi-Fi. So yeah, I just think that everyone has, some people like to read all the time, but in the summers when I had time to consume this type of content. And so that's what I got used to doing. And then we started the book study on the blog several years ago, and it was very successful. A lot of folks were interested in participating. And so when we opened the tribe, we transitioned over to doing those book studies over there in a more structured environment so that you all could get certificates of participation. I guess I missed, there we go. And teach like a pirate. I'm off to Rome in the fall, taking a book, says Debbie. Yes. I've heard of that book, Jeannie, but I'm not sure it translates well to pre-K. So I haven't recommended that one yet. But to each his own. Yes, and Conscious Discipline is great. Conscious Discipline is a great book to read, but it's one of those types of books where you really need the training to go with it. You know what I mean? So try to consume all of their free webinars that you can along with the book. Because I think until you really see it in action, it's really hard to implement just through reading the book on your own, at least. In a group setting, it would be great. Okay, guys, so I will be back Wednesday with it's 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern here on the Pre-K Pages Facebook page. If you know any teachers who could benefit from this book list of professional reading for the early childhood teacher, go ahead and share this broadcast or tag them in it, or whatever way you see fit. So until next time, thanks for watching. I'm Vanessa Levin. Have a great night. Bye.